Hi there, this is Haddad here again. In this lecture, I have to show you how you can do firewalling on the Ubiquiti EdgeRouter. So I'm going to show you the direction which is called direction local. So what does it mean direction local on the firewall? And this means to which traffic we are applying the firewall rules. So as you can see here, we have a lab of 9 points. But before I start doing those points, let's go to the lab scenario to explain to you exactly what we need to do, and then we will come back to the points and start doing that. So my scenario is as following. I have here an edge router which has internet. So it is connected from here to the interface Ethernet 1. So this WAN interface here. And the LAN interface is, which is, I have it here, switch 0, which has inside of it Ethernet 2, 3, and 4. So I made a bridge between all those interfaces. So all those interfaces are inside the switch 0 interface. I'm connecting physically to Ethernet 2, so the router has internet, it is providing internet to my computer, and everything is working fine. Now, what I need to do is to check if I can do SSH to the router. So that means I want to connect to the router as SSH in case I want to do some command line to make change on the configuration on the router. Now, there is a chain called on the Ubiquiti local. Local means the direction is local. That means that all traffic which are coming to the router itself. So the traffic coming to the router. All right. So that means you are doing, for example, SSH to the router. You are doing telnet to the router. So all traffic coming to the router. And the local can be the way from the LAN. So it can be LAN local, because then you are doing traffic from your internal LAN to the router directly. Or it could be also WAN local, correct? So that means you may be, for example, sitting at home and this router is in your office, and you want to connect to the router from your home. So you have to come from the internet to the router. So you have two directions, the local, which is coming, the LAN local and the WAN local. But just for you to remember that when you say local, that means traffic coming to the router. All right. Whether it's coming from the WAN or it's coming from the LAN, that's not a problem. It's only to think that it's coming to the router. All right, very good. So now we know what does it mean local. Let me just show you what we need to do in this lab so you understand better what we have to configure. So the idea of this lab is as following. I'm going to do SSH from my computer to the router. That means this is the traffic local. And normally we should be able to do SSH because SSH is enabled by default on the edge router, and we can do SSH. Then after that, I have to create a firewall rule, and I want to, that is SSH, I want to stop SSH, but from the LAN. All right. So any traffic coming to the router as SSH from the LAN, I want to drop it. And I want to test if it's going to work or not. All right. Very good. Then after this router here, I have another router, which is a MikroTik router actually. And this router is providing the internet as well to this router. So we have to think that this is the WAN is connected. Let's think that this router is the ISP router, which is over here. All right. So what I need now to do is to also, because on the MikroTik, we can open the router as Winbox. Okay. So something like SSH, but it gives a graphical user interface on MikroTik, which is called Winbox. So I have to create a firewall rule to see if, for example, I make a firewall rule to block the Winbox port, which is 8291. We will see that later. So 8291 is the Winbox port. So if I make a firewall rule to block this port on the way local, so that means if it's coming to here to router 1, then we will see if it's gonna stay open or not. Remember, the local means anything coming to the router, which is R1. So the question is, would this Winbox will be stopped because the traffic is going now not to router 1, but it's going to the MikroTik router. So that's something we have to check. And after that, I will also want to make a firewall rule as well, but now this way we want to make it local to the router 1, but from Winbox. So that means from the WAN. So that means I have to create here something called WAN local. All right. So the traffic which are coming from the WAN to the router. So I want to also block the ping. I don't want that the MikroTik router, which is over here, to be able to ping the edge router anymore. All right. So this is what we are going to do in this lab. I know that it's a bit complicated now, you see it, but you will see with the points, it's going to be very easy and clear for you. So let's go back now to the points and start doing them. Point number 1, from your PC, try to do SSH to the edge router. Is it possible? So now I don't have any firewall rule. So we have to check if it's possible. Let's do that. Let's go to the Ubiquiti. That's a freeware software. You can download it for free from the internet. And let's try to do SSH. The IP of the edge router is 10.10.10.1, and you see it. I have selected SSH, and the default port of SSH is 22. And to be sure, you can go to the edge router over here, and on system, if you scroll down, you will see that SSH server is enabled and it has port 22. So that means here is fine. And then if I make open, you see I can log in Ubiquiti, and I'm able to do SSH to the edge router. So now what I need to do is I want to block the SSH to the edge router. Point number 1 is done. Point number 2, create a firewall rule set, name it LAN local, so because the traffic is coming from the LAN and to the router, so that means local. So we have to make it LAN local. Of course, you can put the name you want, but I just make it easy, LAN local. So I know that this is the traffic coming from the LAN. With default action, accept and enable default log. So what does it mean here? If I go to the router now, and you have to go to here to firewall NAT, and then you go to firewall policies, you have to create a rule set. Rule set means set of rules that you want to create. All right, so let's name it LAN local. The default behavior of this rule set is to accept everything. All right, so I'm saying that everything will be accepted, and I will create the one which I want to block. All right, so that means any traffic coming from the LAN to the router is accepted, but then after that I will create the rules to not accept. That means I want to block SSH, I want to block telnet, and maybe I want to block the ping to the router. So I can create them, but the default behavior is to accept everything, and then I will make here the default log so I can see the statistics later. So and then I will say here save. So this is the first step I need to do. Point number 2 is done. Point number 3, create a rule in the rule set to drop SSH. So let's create the rule inside this rule set. So now we have this rule set created. We have to go to action and edit rule set. Here we have to create the rule. I have to say add new rule. You see we don't have any rule. Actually there is one default rule which is to accept everything. All right, you can see it over here in the stats. So there is this rule which has having the default action to accept everything. Now we create this rule, and here I have to say drop and SSH, just a name. So it's enabled. The action is to drop. To drop what? SSH. SSH works on port 22 TCP. So we have to say the protocol is TCP, and I want to drop anything which is SSH. That means the destination which is going to be 22, port 22. So what does it mean here? Here I'm saying I'm creating this rule which is enabled to drop any traffic going to port 22. So that means TCP protocol destination 22. And then I will say here save. All right. So now this rule has been created, and you see once you create this rule, it comes before the default action, which is to accept everything. So you see this is rule 1 and this is 10,000. So it would come first, it would check, does it match this one? If yes, it will drop the SSH. If it doesn't match, then it go down to the second rule. But now we have to apply this on the interface. Point number 3 is done. Point number 4, apply the rule on the interface switch 0 direction local. So what does it mean, the switch 0? Again, if I go back here, I told you that I have created already an interface called switch 0. I put inside of it Ethernet 2, 3, and 4. All right. So anything coming to the switch 0 means anything coming to interface Ethernet 2, 3, and 4. As it is Ethernet 2, so I have to make it this way, and then we make it local. All right. Local to switch 0. Let's do that. We go to now the edge router, and now we have to go again to the action, and we edit the rule set, and over here we have the interface. So we have to select the interface is switch 0. The direction, look, we have in, out, local. I'll speak later about in, out and some other videos, but now I have to say the way local. So that means any traffic coming from the LAN to the router, which is SSH in my case, that I want to drop it. And then I will say here save. All right, so that's it. So now we need to check if this rule is gonna block for me the SSH to the router. Port number 4 is done. Port number 5, try to open SSH now from your PC to the EdgeRouter. Is it working? Let's have a look. Let's here now just check the statistics. So I will open stat. You see that now this one, the rule which I made it for dropping SSH, doesn't have any packet or bytes because there is no yet any SSH traffic from the LAN to the router. Let's try now to open SSH. So I will go again to PuTTY, and from here I would go 10.10.10.1 SSH 22 open. Here we go. You see it's not opening. Now if we look to the EdgeRouter, look, the packets and the bytes are increasing on this rule. Why? Because now my computer is trying to do SSH, and every time he's trying, he's saying, oh, you are doing SSH, you are dropped. You cannot do SSH because the way is local to the LAN, and you're coming from the LAN, and I see that it is SSH, you're dropped, you cannot go. So you see it's increasing 5 packets and 260 bytes. And at the moment you see a timeout from SSH because he has tried many times and he failed, then it's not gonna work. You can see already it's saying connection timed out. So yeah, that's how you can protect your router. But now if we try to do ping, for example, because ping also is coming from my computer to the router. So it's a traffic which is local. So if I make ping to 10.10.10.1, you see it is working because I did not stop ping to the router. So I only stopped the SSH. So what's gonna happen? It comes to the first rule. Are you SSH? The ping say no, I'm ping, I'm actually MP. So then it will go to the second rule. The second rule say, oh, are you anything? They say, yeah, I'm ping, so I'm part of anything. That's fine, you are accepted, and that's the default action. That's why you could ping the router. Port number 5 is done. Port number 6, can you open Winbox on the MikroTik router? So as I said to you when I was explaining about the lab, we have a router over here sitting, which is a MikroTik router, another type of routers. So it is sitting there connected to the interface Ethernet 1, so that is the WAN, and we can connect to the MikroTik router as Winbox to do the configuration. So I will show you in a moment. So let's open Winbox, and I will show you that we can do that. So this is Winbox, and from here I will connect to the MikroTik router. So this is the IP address of this router, and I put the password. So you can see I'm able to connect to the MikroTik router without any problem from my PC. And if you want, this MikroTik router is the one giving the IP to the EdgeRouter. So you can see that this one is the HTTP server on the MikroTik router is giving this IP to the WAN interface of the, you see UBNT, this is the Ubiquiti. So this is the WAN interface, which is 172.22.0.254. So it's giving him this IP address. And this is, I checked it from the lease. All right, so I can do the Winbox, and you want to see also here on the IP, if we go to services, you see that Winbox works on port 8291. All right, so let's try to block this port on the local as well to see if we can still connect to the Winbox. So let's have a look how to do that. So port number 6 is done. Yes, we can connect to the MikroTik router. Port number 7, make a rule on the local direction to stop the port of Winbox. Is it working? Why? So again, what I need now to do, if I go back to the picture, so I also want to use this local that I have made it the direction local to the interface switch 0, so that means to here, but I want to block Winbox. So Winbox, which is on port, we saw 8291, I want to block it. And then we have to try to open again Winbox to the MikroTik router. We have to see if it's going to work. So let's think of it logically. We said that when it is local, it means everything coming to the router, right? Is the Winbox session that I'm opening from my computer to the MikroTik router, is it coming to the EdgeRouter? Actually not. It's not coming to the EdgeRouter. It's going from the EdgeRouter to another router. So it's traversing the EdgeRouter. And that means if we make it the way local to the router here, to the EdgeRouter, then it should still be working. And if you want, let's try to do it. So let's go to the EdgeRouter. We go to the EdgeRouter over here. And on the same rule set, which I have created here, and it's saying to drop SSH on the interface switch 0 the way local, I will create another rule, and let's call it drop, for example, winbox. All right, so I will drop winbox, which works on this drop works on the port TCP destination. We saw the port is 8291. So anything which is going to the edge router, which is TCP, and the destination is 8291, that means winbox, then I want to drop it. Okay, I make save. So you can see the rule is here now, the second rule. Let's save the rules. And this is applied on the interface switch 0 local. So coming from the LAN, but to the switch 0. Again, remember, local is coming to the edge router. But this now the winbox is traversing the router to go to the other way. So that's not anymore the direction local. If we put direction local, we'll see that it's gonna work. But let's have a try to check. Let's go to winbox now. I will close this session and let's open another session now. So this is the IP, and then I will say connect, and here we go. I can still connect to winbox. And if we look to the firewall here, to the stats, and if we go to the stats here, this one, it doesn't have any packet matching. Why? Because it has checked, you coming to me, are you coming to do winbox to me as edge router? They say, no, I'm not coming to do a winbox to you. I'm going to make winbox to the router which comes after you. They say, oh, then that's not a local traffic to me. Then, okay, you can go ahead. And that's how it goes to the last one. Actually, it doesn't apply at all to the rule set here, because that's the traffic going via the router. So that's not anymore local traffic. And that's why it is working. Point number 7 is done. So I have explained why it is working. Now, point number 8, from the MikroTik router. So the MikroTik router, which is connected to the WAN of the edge router, we have to make ping to the edge router. So we are on the MikroTik router, and we have seen already that if we go to IP, the DHCP server, the IP which is leased for the UBNT to the edge router, it is 172.22.0254. And we can justify that over here. If we go to dashboard, you see that Ethernet 1, which is the one here, it is 172.22.0.254. All right, so if I make ping from the MikroTik router, let's open the ping from the tools, maybe it's better. And I make 172.22.0.254. From the MikroTik router, I'm able to ping it. That's fine. Now what I need to do is to stop the ping. All right, so I want to stop the ping from the MikroTik router to the edge router. Point number 8 is done. Point number 9, make a rule to block the ping from the MikroTik router to the edge router. So let's think what we need to do. We go back here and let's clear a little bit the picture here. So we have to think what we need to do. All right, so this is the MikroTik router, which is sitting on the WAN of the edge router. And it is able to do the ping to the router. All right. So now we have to think, if we want to block the ping, I want to keep everything open. That's one thing. Then I want to block the ping, which is coming from the MikroTik router to the edge router. So it's going to the edge router. In this way, I have to create a new rule set. I will name it WAN local. That means traffic coming from the WAN to the local. And I will block the ICMP because ping works on ICMP. And the direction, remember, shall I put the direction? I have to put it the direction Ethernet 1 because that's the interface which is on the WAN. And then I have to make it local because the traffic is coming to Ethernet 1 as local. All right, so this means coming to the router. I'm pinging to the edge router. All right, so that's what I need to do. Let's try that. Let's go to the edge router. We go to firewall, and then from here to firewall policies. Now we have to create a new rule because this rule, it's only for the LAN local. Now we need to create a new rule set, and we have to name it WAN local. The default action, I will say accept everything, default. Very good. Now we create a rule, and in this rule I have to say, for example, drop ping. I will drop the ping, and ping, it is working on the protocol. So let's choose the protocol, which is ICMP. You see, this is ICMP. So that's what I need to do. Drop ping. So it's enable. I will make also logging enable here so we can see the statistics. And the rest I don't need to do anything. And then I'll save it. And then the last thing is to apply the interface Ethernet 1 because that's the one and the direction is local coming to the router. And then I save the rule set. We open the statistics so we see that we have this rule. So dropping the ping and then a rule which comes after it, which is accept everything. So now let's have a try to see if I can still ping to the EdgeRouter. Let's go to the tools, ping. So we see it was possible. Now if I make start, and here we go. You see that it's not possible. Why? Because the traffic is now doing ping coming to the EdgeRouter. So that's why we made it local. And now if I look on the EdgeRouter, the ping is ongoing. You can see the packets and the bytes are increasing. Why? Because it's matching. So it's saying you're dropping. All right, so that's really wonderful. You can see it direction. It's very important to remember that the local means anything coming to the router. Point number 9 is done, and with this point I have showed you a very nice lab speaking about the firewall on the EdgeRouter, and we spoke specifically about the chain which is local. So remember, when you say local, that means anything coming to the router, whether from the LAN or from the WAN, any traffic coming to the router to use any services on the router, that's what you have to use the chain local. So this is what I wanted to show you in this lecture. I hope it was informative for you, and I'll see you in another lecture.